Alright, welcome. So today we're talking about spread of data and standard deviation. So when we talk about those things, basically we're talking about sort of how close each term is to the middle of the data set. So the things that we need to be familiar with are mean, median, mode, as well as range and interquartile range. So as it says there, that's the difference between your 75th and 25th percentile. So basically think of it like we're taking our data, splitting it into 4 sections, and the middle, like the crossover points for each of those 4 sections are quartiles. The median, therefore, being the second quartile. So if we're looking at our data, we have our stem and leaf. Notice the stem counts as the ones place in this particular example. So this is not 75, instead it would be 7.5. So finding most of these is going to be pretty straightforward, right? Minimum value, we're just going to look at the information, find the lowest one, so 6.0. Maximum value, find the highest one. All right, the median, we said it's in the middle. So basically what we need to know is the total number of terms that we find in the set. So if we count it out, there should be 22 terms. Divide that in half. Means we need to split our set at the 11th term, or rather after the 11th term. So if I count it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If I count from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It stopped right in between those two. It's between 8.1 and 8.2. So we'll go ahead and say it's 8.15. To find your quartiles, you do the same thing, but you're going to split it only on each half. So 11 divided by 2 gives us 5.5. Let's go ahead and round that down to 5 because I can't count half a term. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to count from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice each time I stopped next to the 5, so the lower quartile is 7.5. Now I'll do it on the upper end. Count 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop there. We notice we stopped on the 9. So 8.9. Finally, we need our 2 ranges. So to find the range, again, we're just going to subtract the highest term from the lowest term. So if I take 10.1 and subtract 6, we get 4.1. To find the interquartile range, we're finding the range from Q1 to Q3. So I'm going to take my 8.9, subtract out my 7.5, and that's going to give me 1.4. So remember that the mean, median, mode, and your 2 quartiles give you the 5-number summary. So when you are asked for that, know that that's what it means. All right, go ahead and try this one on your own. This guy right here is a formula that we can use to determine whether or not a term counts as an outlier. So basically anything that is more than 1.5 times the interquartile range beyond Q1 or Q3 counts as an outlier. So how are we going to do this one? Well, let's first figure out the 5-number summary. So again, we're looking at a frequency table. So that means we have to take into account how many times each number repeats. Now it's not going to have any effect on our min or max, right? So my min is still 33. My max is still 40. But it will have an effect on the median and the 2 quarters. So what we need to do is figure out how many terms there are. So if I add all those up, 1 plus 5 plus 7 all the way up, let's see what we get. All right, should be 47. So we have 47 terms in all. Again, to find the median, we want to split that in half. So 47 divided in half is 23.5. Again, we can't count half a number, so let's go ahead and round it down to 23. This time, since we're looking at frequency, instead of just counting one number at a time, we'll count them in sets. So from 1 to 5, that's 6. Make that 13. Add another 13, and we're at 26. So since the median was on the 23rd term, that means we're going to land somewhere in this clump of 36s. And if I count down, I should get the same thing. So 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 plus 12 is 21. So I need to count 2 more spaces, and I land once again on 36. The median is 36. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So again, 23 divided in half, 11.5. So I need to count 11 terms from each side. So to get Q1, I go 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 7 is 13. I only needed 11 terms. So that means it's going to be one of the 35s. And if I count Q3, again, I'm counting 11 terms. So 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 8 is 9, plus 12 is 21. So that means somewhere in these 12 items is Q3. So Q3 is going to be 37. All right, so to determine outliers, we said anything that's more than 1.5 times the IQR is an outlier. So when I look at this, my range overall was 7, right? My IQR was the difference between Q3 and Q1, so that's 2. So if I take 2, multiply by 1.5, that gives me 3. So anything that's 3 more than Q3 or 3 less than Q1 counts as an outlier. So that means I'm looking for things that are greater than 40, which I don't have, and things that are less than 35, which I do not have. So there are no outliers here. Finally, to get the box plot, we're going to take that 5-number summary, put it on a number line, and then what we're going to do is draw a box around the 2 quartiles, put a line through the median, and then we can just label each of those things. So 33, 35, 36, 37, and then 40. All right, so this one you can try on your own. Our last thing to look at is the standard deviation. So I know this formula looks complicated, but basically the x with the bar over it is your mean, n is the total number of scores, and x is any particular score. So what we're looking at is essentially, think of it like the average distance each number is from the median. So high standard deviation means everything is spread out. Low standard deviation means everything is clumped together. So how will we find that? Well, to do it by hand, alright, so to find the standard deviation, we got to go through the process, right? So it's the first thing we want to do is calculate the average. Notice they were helpful. They gave us the total number of terms. Remember that the frequency tells us how many times each one repeats. So what I would probably want to do is start by making a little column here and multiplying each number by its frequency. So this is going to be the frequency times x. We're going to make this little column. So 36 times 2 is going to give us 72. 39 times 5 gives us 195. 44 times 9 gives us 396. 45 times 11, 495, and so on. We get 690. 48 times 5, 50 times 4, and then finally 52. Alright, so if we add all of those up and divide by the total number of terms, it's going to be our average. So 195 plus 72 plus 396 plus 495 plus 690 plus 240 plus 200 plus 52 should give us 2,313. Divide that by 52, and that's our average. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and write over here the average is 44.48. Alright, so now we need another column. So what we're going to do is take x minus x bar and square it. You can do this in, actually what we should probably do is do the differences first and then square it. That way we do not get too many calculations. So basically we're going to take every term in the list and subtract it from that average. So I get 27.5, 150.5, and I'm rounding here. So 311.5. $450.5, and so forth. Alright, so then once we have all of that, you're going to take each number in that list and square it. And then you're going to average the whole thing out. So again, you're going to take the sum of all the squares, divide by 52. So if we do that, your answer should be roughly 3.3. And that's your standard deviation. So again, find the average, subtract each term from the average, square all those differences, and then re-average it. That's your standard deviation. Or finally, sorry, I skipped a step in there. It's an important one. Re-average the averages and then take the square root. So it's the square root of all those averages that gets you your standard deviation. If you do not take the square root, what you have found is the variance. So in the example that you work, calculate the variance and the standard deviation. All right, that's all for today. I'll see you next time.